What's up, everyone? This is David Greenspan, and you are listening to the MindShare PodCast, a proud member of the Industry Syndicate Media Network. Additional podcasts are available at industrysyndicate.com and mindshare101.com. This week's episode is sponsored by Kit's Keep in Touch Systems. This is episode 55. Now, as we get into this, I want to say that it is a very exciting time of year. Not only is it the holidays, but we're about to wrap up an incredible year. And in fact, so much has happened this past decade. I mean, way too much to list. But for me, I had two kids who are now 8 and 6 years old. Go figure. I had the good fortune of riding my Harley across the country a few times, including a trip all the way to, well, almost Alaska from Toronto. And MindShare 101 Inc. was born. And speaking of, so was the MindShare Challenge. And in fact, we're about to launch another challenge starting on February 11th, 2020. And for anybody who doesn't know about it, this is a 60-day interactive gamified learning experience. Every single challenger logs into their own private dashboard, and everybody gets personalized challenges each week, helping everybody get to their next level, no matter what level you're already at. You get to see where you're at in comparison to yourself. You get to see where you're at in comparison to the group. And so if you're a competitive person, or even if you simply just want to get to your next level, this is for you. I mean, each week we're tackling different topics, which, well, focus bottom line on getting you more deals. But we go through everything from time management and really creating a life plan to creating a day-to-day plan so you know exactly what you have to do every single day when you wake up. We go through marketing plans and budgeting. We talk about referral strategies. We talk about social media and video and websites. We go over prospecting so you're meeting new people and getting new business. I mean, we cover it all. This is your success system. And because we're scheduled to start on February 11th, and this runs for the 60 days, so it's an 8-week program, we're going to end on March 31st, just in time for our spring market. I mean, this course is going to help you get more opportunities to get to the table. Because, well, that's what everybody needs, right? Is more opportunities so that you can get those listing presentations and people can be thinking about you. And essentially, we're going to help you build that mind share so that you put yourself in the right place at the right time, even when you don't know when that time actually is. Now, check this out. This thing is usually priced at $397. For a limited time only, everybody can take advantage of 40% off. This is a steal. We're talking 60 days of content live. We're talking you're going to be part of a private online community where you can network with people and ask questions to people and connect with people 24/7. You're going to have the dashboard in the background, so you're going to be able to track your own progress and really hold yourself accountable. And of course, we're going to be holding you accountable as well. But 40% off. This is amazing. All you have to do is go to www.themsc101.com. So again, themsc101.com right now. In fact, well, yeah, go right now and then come back and listen to the podcast. With that, I want you to take down this promo code. Write this down. MS10140. So you're going to take that promo code, MS10140. When you go to themsc101.com, you're going to type in that promo code. I think it's on page 3, step 3 of the registration process. It's going to ask you for a promo code. You're going to put that in. You're going to get your 40% off. And now you're going to be registered to take the MindShare Challenge. Now, this is the best part is that, again, at the end of it all, on March 31st, you are going to be ready to dominate your spring market. On top of that, all of our challengers, everybody who takes the challenge and completes all of the challenges, you're all going to earn your MindShare Marketing Master Certification. This is the first marketing certification in the entire real estate industry, giving you all bragging rights over your competition and the advantage at all of those listing presentations that you're going to be going on. So again, I encourage you, if you're thinking to yourself, hey, I've got another level I want to hit, this is for you. If you're thinking to yourself, I'm a rock star, what more can I do? Come on, we know we can always learn something new. Hell, if you're just starting in this business and you're trying to figure out which way is up, what you're supposed to do every day, what your expenses look like, what does it really take to be a successful realtor, mortgage broker, even loan officer, this course is for you. So I encourage you guys, go to the ms101.com, type in MS10140 to save your 40%, get yourself registered, let's do this. This is going to be fun. Now, For the final episode of 2019, for the final MindShare podcast of Season 1, I am going all the way back in time because this is the man that actually got me started on my podcast journey. This is the guy who encouraged me way back in 2018, at the end of 2018, to get my podcast started. So I thought it'd only be fitting to invite my man Jason Frazier on the show with me today to wrap up an amazing past 2019, talk about the trends, talk about the things that happened, and of course make some predictions for 2020. Where's the business going? Where's the industry going? Where's marketing going? What can we all do out there to become more successful? So without further ado, welcome to episode 55. You gotta love technology. You know, it's funny. I would open up today and say that yesterday I had posted that, you know, Facebook is a love-hate relationship. This is one of those things where you use it, you abuse it, and then it abuses you right back. Like, that's the way I look at it. It's a mental cluster, you know what? I mean, like, I don't understand. Yes, you know, here we go. Yesterday you were you had posted up the promo for today's podcast, which is a mix of the MindShare podcast, the Marketing Interrupt podcast. And we figured we'd do this sort of like end of year kind of powwow of what's going on, what's been happening in 2019, what kind of trends did we see and challenges we saw, and then go from there and sort of move into like a few predictions for 2020. And here you are, you posted out that wicked promo, which I had to ask you, like, you ripped, dude, like it was like we spoke and like moments later this thing was up. I don't know how, you're like Amazon. I don't know how you did that. But then I go to tag you and it's like, yeah, tagged. And I'm looking on my mobile, my phone, and I can't see it on my business page. I look at my desktop, it's there. There's still no tag. So I go and edit it. It shows that it's tagged. And then I hit save and no, still not tagged.
No.
I don't understand, bro. Do you have these types of problems with Facebook? Or is this
it's Facebook as of late, and I think this will be we'll see if they shut down the live stream when they hear the name. Start giving them crap. But like, as of late, there's a lot of stupid stuff. Like the one thing is like sometimes tagging on mobile doesn't work at all, and then you have to go and do it right on the desktop. Yeah. The one thing that drives me absolutely insane because of a lot of the content I put out, I'm always tagging like company pages and whatnot, right? And I don't know if anyone else has noticed this, is when you start doing like the ads, the at mention symbol, whatever you want to call it, and then you start typing in the name and it comes up with suggestions. A lot of times it comes up with suggestions of people that I don't even know. Yeah. Things. I'm like, let's just be like a little, especially when there's like a history of me doing it. Okay, I could deal with that, right? But it's when like the suggestion that you want comes up and you go to click on it, like and then a second later it disappears and then it won't come back up in the list. And then that's the stuff that drives me absolutely insane. That really, honestly, like when it comes to Facebook, the one thing that honestly I think is the biggest, my biggest pet peeve is the lack of support or help. And then when you do finally get into a forum or something like that, and it's like, oh, well, this was covered in this, one, is there zero help, right? And I get it. It's a free platform, but for those of us like you and I that are actually spending money, like, where we run ads and stuff like that, like, and I know there is like chat support for that, but for the most part is like, if people like the lack for a company the size of Facebook, the company that makes as much money as Facebook, to me, I cannot think of a worse support ecosystem online than Facebook.
Like, you know what? And I mean, I probably zero ever, like never go for their support. I never ever go to ask questions. I just think to myself, there's like nobody actually there that's going to help you with anything. I mean, I will say when I've done ads before, I know those times where they're like, oh, denied. And you're like, no, review. Yeah. There's times where they will get back to you fairly quickly. And then there's times where it's like, you set that ad to run today and expire in like 2 days from now. And like 4 days later, they're like, hey, yeah, good to hear from you. You're like, no, exactly. Yeah. You were delayed. I missed my opportunity. But I'm with you on that. I don't understand. Like even today, when I went to go tag us right now, I went to go tag you, pardon me, on this. It wouldn't find you. It's like we're not friends on Facebook yet. We're friends through like multiple groups and multiple pages and like personal timelines and like, what the? It doesn't make sense. Yeah, it is frustrating because we're on it all day, every day, right? And I mean, I know a lot of people try to, a lot of people want to take advantage of Facebook.
Yeah.
they don't really know what to do on a regular basis. And then here's guys like us that like maybe we post a lot, but it's value add content. It is truly about building mindshare and helping the audience out there, and everybody watching. But it is that thing of you go, I don't understand why there's so many differences across so many platforms. Like, and I'm talking Facebook itself, but so many devices, right? Yep. If I go to, because I've got a number of groups that I host, that I admin, whatever. And if I go to some of my groups, some of them look one way and some of them look a different way. Every time I go to share something, let's say from, my biz page to like one of my groups, it's got different functionality going on. And sometimes it allows you to share to like multiple groups at one time, like just by clicking the share, like on the, down the right. Sometimes it's like, it doesn't give you any options.
Yeah,
man. So let me ask you this thing,
we're turning this into end of year Facebook rant.
Well, I was going to say though, on that topic, right? When we look at 2019, right? And I know, look, for me today, this is a big one because this is officially episode number 55 of the MindShare podcast. And I thank you. I really thank you, Jason Frazier, for putting all this work on my plate that I didn't have at this time last year. So thank you.
You're welcome. Anything I could do.
But with no, you know what? I do sincerely grateful for it. Have been having an absolute blast podcasting this year. And one thing that's been, just like anything else in life, it's about consistency. And so for me, I'm looking at today and I'm going, episode number 55. We're about to wrap up 2019. I'm looking, going, fitting that I would be back online with you. And I know we've done this a few times throughout the year as well. But fitting that like one of my first podcasts was with you. And I thought, to wrap up my first year of podcasting, have you on the show. And so when I look back, one thing that was key, that was sort of this key message in 2018, sort of towards the end of it. And we were all talking about it. And I know a bunch of us still talk about it, but we talked about voice marketing.
Yep.
And we talked about all of the devices in people's homes. Where is voice marketing going? How it's going to probably, take over the idea of video marketing in 2019, even moving into 2020. And what do you think about that? I know there's a lot of people out there that are listening to the podcast. I'm grateful for every single person that is subscribed to mine, as well as that's watching live with us right now. That said, though, did voice marketing, this whole, Alexa and flash briefings, did it actually take off the way we thought it was going to take off in 2019?
I think looking at the landscape, seeing what, looking at stats, looking at the adoption of voice speakers and everything else that's going on. I think the amount of like local search and those types of like where I thought it would really kind of be prevalent, I don't think has taken off as much as I thought it would.
You mean like voice search type stuff?
Well, like, using it in a home, like for example, you're, like wanting to order food or stuff like that, or movie tickets or something like that. You just do it and say, hey, I'm not going to say it because otherwise she'll start yapping in the back, but say, who know, whatever. I'll just say Siri, right? I'll use Siri as like an example for everybody. Sorry, Android and Windows people, but I'm just going to say Siri. Right. And so
what do you mean? Hold on. What, were you taking a poke at us Android people?
No. I'm just, what do you guys have? Do you guys have,
I don't have anything, bro. You know what? I've got something on my phone called Bixby.
It's Hey Google, right?
I've got Bixby, and like if I say Hey Google, you could say Hey Google, and sometimes you could say something else, and Google still opens up, which is really weird stuff.
Gotcha. Okay. So anyway, my point there is that I thought that would be more prevalent for people using that type of voice tech. I mean, it's there, it works. It's just that it doesn't seem to be taken off as much. Now, with that being said, when I look at 2019, podcasting has not at all fallen off or been any less expansive as far as adoption or people starting or whatnot. I just see a lot of people doing it. I know personally, if I look back at 2019, my voice, if I try to compare like the content that I consume, it is voice first, reading second, and video third for me. Which is weird because I don't really enjoy reading all too much. But
now, is this reading like actually paperback, or are you talking like audio?
So yeah, paperback, Kindle. I've done some audiobooks, but voice, honestly, like podcasting, just just in general, like listening to flash briefings, whatever, that is generally how I consume my content. And then reading would be second to that. And they're pretty close, actually. Video actually is where I consume the least amount of content. And again, I don't want anyone thinking, oh, are you saying like video's not important? I'm just saying, me personally, just the reason why is because when I'm watching a video, I have to be captivated on it. Like there's just too much going on. Where audio is passive, I could be doing a lot of different things. Reading, obviously, is more focused. But to me, it's like when I'm reading something, I really do want to be focused on what I'm reading. I don't want it to be passive. The video thing, to me, and maybe it's just the content that's around. A lot of it's the same stuff. I will say the only video, and then taking that a step further, when it comes to video content, since I found TikTok, about 95% of the video that I do consume is TikTok videos.
Really? So you watch, are you
because
using
they're
TikTok
hilarious.
or are you sort of like scrolling TikTok right now?
I'm scrolling TikTok. I've thrown it through videos on there because honestly, I don't really care about creating content on the platform right now. But I really just want to see what everyone else does and what everyone else is popular. Now we have a few people in the mastermind that have really crushed it on TikTok, doing some funny videos, and I enjoy it. And that's the thing is, like, I just enjoy that type of content. It takes me back to the early days of Snapchat. But for me, I rarely consume video on Facebook. I don't watch anybody's stories, right? I don't care if it's family, friends, whatever. Like, I don't like stories. I just don't.
Like on
really
what? On Facebook, on Instagram, any of that stuff?
No, yeah, it just does. There's not, and I think mostly it has to do with the content, is because when you're watching stories, now some people will just kind of like be funny and just show stuff in their life and pictures and stuff like that. But a lot of it's about them and blah, 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 blah. And I just don't care. Right. And not that I don't care about them. I'd rather read like a written post from them or a meme or something like that. And then some content or whatever. And, whatever the stories to me, I just don't care about. But on TikTok, it's a totally different vibe. Like, and not only that, but it's funny. And that's where I just like to watch funny stuff. And TikTok just cracks me up, and it's short, where stories can end up droning on and on and on and on. I think it's just more of like the content style. So for me, voice is definitely paramount this year, as far as, and it will be next year. It is something that I listen to. I've thankfully only shoveled the driveway once of snow. So I was listening to a podcast while I was doing that, but driving, listen to podcasts, maybe some, radio, whatever, sports talk now that it's football season. So listen to the NFL radio. But after that, like, it'll be mostly podcast, audiobooks, and then I have stuff playing on, and just very, very, very little video that do I consume. But I read more than I consume video. So I would say that I wouldn't be the only one that has consumed more voice in 2019. The reading and the video still crushes it. So I don't want anyone taking what I'm saying as like video is falling off. For me, it has dramatically. That's just personal preference. But for voice and audio, that's where I've seen a lot of the excitement. That's where I see a lot of people being able to get started. But not only that, but I see that has been a great stepping stone for people to get started with just creating content, because they're not comfortable with being on video. They write like shit, and they don't, they're not excited about it. But audio like this is, I enjoy. Obviously, we're doing live video right now, but what I enjoy is that, like, the cool thing is we'll be able to cut the audio from this. And I did a video podcast yesterday with doing an end of year wrap up with the Next Level Loan Officers crew, and that was fun. And I think that the audio, it just allows to have the more of the conversation, especially stuff like this. Is generally when you're podcasting, the video seems to be more talking at people. Mm-hmm. As opposed, and then TikTok seems to be like performing for people, which I like. I think that, again, going back to the humor and just the creative stuff that people do on TikTok. Whereas, so I think it's just, this is all fairly new for a lot of people, even like the stories and the videos and stuff, even though that's Snapchat and all that stuff has been around for a while. We're still, it's still generally pretty new. So everyone's kind of finding their way, the content and their personal preference. But I think the reason why, I'm bringing all of this up to answer your question about voice and whatnot. One is just simply, no, I haven't seen, I thought people would have it interacted more in their daily lives and their routines than they do now. And I just don't see that, but everything else. But I'm saying all of this just because I think right now is especially dangerous in real estate and mortgage, when it comes to the people that are out there in front, the gurus, the experts, the speakers, and all that other stuff, is there's too much of a focus on the absolute of like, well, video, and it's on the personal preference. Like me, when I talk about my personal preference, I make sure to make a note that it's my personal preference, and I don't say like, because I watch doing all this, then everyone else likes doing all that stuff.
Right.
And that just isn't the case. But I'm saying all of this because I want everyone to know that, especially if you're starting with content, because we all know like agents aren't super comfortable doing this. We know that loan officers aren't super comfortable doing this stuff. Is that it's still finding its way, and that just because someone tells you or someone else is doing a certain type of content that seems to be working doesn't mean it's going to work for you, and doesn't mean that that's the only way to do it. And so, there's a reason why you have TikTok, right? Like, because probably that content wouldn't be as funny or go over as well on Instagram or Facebook.
I didn't get it yet. Like I know Jen, my wife, has it, but I haven't actually picked it up just yet. I've seen the videos. I've seen what people are up to. I mean, this is funny because this takes me back to one of our Snapchat conversations from 4 years ago, where I was like, Jay, I don't know, this Snapchat thing. Yeah. Right. And then I went back to we were in Jersey and I came back to Toronto. I'm like, okay, fine, I'll download this thing. And I couldn't figure it out. But, the thing with TikTok is that I'm seeing, at least, is that it's a lot of people, like you said, it's a lot of people sort of, it's funny, it's entertaining. People are getting on there and they are, as far as I understand it. So again, whatever, but people are going out and they're doing their thing where they turn on the camera, they've got some music on and they start dancing and they start, basically entertaining people. Like you said, it's like throwback music or whatever. And it's a few different clips of people just having some fun. And then you move on to the next one. Have I got that right?
Yeah, pretty much. But the funny thing is how everyone comes together on a trend, right? And you're talking about all walks of life, right? You'll see, have you seen the cheese slap yet?
Nope.
Okay. So
the cheese slap?
Yeah. So it's anyone that watches TikTok will understand what I'm talking, that watches it, that's in it, will understand what I'm talking about. But it's YMCA. It starts off with the YMCA music, like the very intro, dun, 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 and then you go through it, and then right at the beginning when it hits the first verse, usually you start off with like a slice of cheese, and people would just like slap it on someone's face, someone that was sleeping, someone that was doing something that was.
Is this the stuff I see when people are driving down the street now and they're throwing it at people, like they're driving down and literally like throwing a piece of cheese out the window?
I don't know. I haven't seen that. The only TikTok videos I've seen is when someone's like in the house and they go and grab cheese out of the refrigerator, and then on the first verse it hits. Anyway, the point is that like, then you see like other people, like you see like a couple kids doing it, then you see adults doing it, then you see people being creative with the ways that they do bring that in. Then it goes from cheese to like eggs, right? Or a slice of ham, or rolled up, like watered up wet toilet paper, right? Like it just, and everyone just
weird
has
stuff, man.
But it just, and honestly, like I will get sucked into that thing for like an hour of just consuming content of just, and it's funny to me, and I'll save some of the songs of things that, I've done a few of them that like, I'm like, oh, hey, I could probably do something with that or whatnot. But me, it's just entertainment. It's entertainment. Like it entertains me. It's funny.
Okay.
That's what I like to see.
Let me ask you this then. You're on TikTok scrolling it right now. And obviously here we're talking about, trends from 2019. We've brought up voice marketing, which I want to go back to in a moment. But when you look at TikTok, even though you're not actually posting right now, you just mentioned you can get lost in it for an hour. And I mean, dude, that's social media, right? We all know that. Yeah. What can people do to be intent on TikTok then? So, how could I use that to build more mind share? And I think you know where I'm going with that message. It's like, I go on there, I'm going to scroll just like I would on Insta, or I would on my stories, or I would on Facebook or whatever. And I'm scrolling and I'm looking at all these different videos, or I don't know if you tap or you scroll or how you do TikTok, but what can people do on TikTok? I know I'll get there. What can people do on TikTok though, to be, to have intent with what they do every day? So they get on there instead of just scrolling and aimlessly scrolling and wasting an hour, go on there and do this.
Yeah. So let's see, so what I've seen work, or where I've seen people get a ton of views is, so like, there's some people in, like I mentioned, the mastermind, and they do some funny videos. Some of them are getting like 100,000 views on
It's crazy, right?
on their content. And now the cool thing is like, so I'll keep it to mortgage, right?
Yeah.
And so where I've seen if I was like to advise someone on the type of content that you would do, one is look at the content that's out there first. Like always look at the content that people seem to be resonating with, and then realize how you could focus your, excuse me, I'm gonna have to sneeze here, but excuse me.
Bless you.
We have to cut that out of the audio, man.
We could actually use that as like a button every single time you do something good.
That always comes in threes for me. So
you ever watch Tim and Sid? You guys don't get Tim and Sid. Nah,
no, never heard of Tim and Sid. But anyway, so getting back to the content is taking like funny things in the mortgage industry.
Yeah.
And kind of either making fun of yourself, making fun of the industry, or making fun of consumers lightly, right? Not like, being stupid or anything like that, but making, just kind of like stuff that you have to deal with. And so if I was, and understand the demographic on TikTok, right? And just like with Snapchat.
What is the demographic on TikTok?
It's super young. It's just like Snapchat. It's just young. Like Snapchat. So you're talking like, junior high school, 20s. For the majority, right? And then you have, just like with Snapchat, then you'd have a somewhat of, like, for example, I consume content on there. A lot of people in the mastermind do, and they are obviously older than that. And and I got some people that are doing content on there, and I know they're in like their mid 40s, or upper 40s. So it's all over the place, but majority, if you're like, okay, what audience am I going to reach on TikTok? It's going to be the younger crowd, right? But the benefit is like the lower 20s, right? Mid 20s. What you're doing, and this is where the short-sightedness of our industry comes in, is like, hey, if it's not like instant ROI, if it's not like, if I want to know that I do this video today, then that someone is going to, fill out an application tomorrow or come.
Yeah, but that's not how any of this stuff is.
I know,
Video,
but
voice.
we know that's how our industry still is for a good part of it. But what I would say is, like, for me, TikTok, just like Snapchat was, is that, like, if you look at TikTok, this is how you create a narrative of like, hey, if you're doing funny stuff on TikTok, or you are even on TikTok, when that person gets it in their head, and this is why advertisers start with young kids with commercials and things of that nature. And again, not that I'm a proponent of this at all, and I want to stress that with what I'm about to say, but there's a reason why tobacco companies do what they do, and alcohol you know what I mean? They advertise to the young in certain aspects or certain ways, so that when they become of age, there's already a familiarity, there's already a narrative in their head about that. To me, I would say the benefit of doing any type of content on a platform like TikTok is so that you can reach the youngers, because look, they're going to be eventually future homeowners or renters or something. And we know that they're not going to get any type of, usually, unless it's from their parents, they're not going to get any type of education about finance, about budgets, about any of that stuff in high school. They just won't, right?
Yeah.
They're not going to be, investing in all that stuff. And so to me, is like, TikTok's a perfect example of being able to reach the younger generations and talk and just having fun about being a mortgage broker, having fun about being a real estate agent, things that they don't maybe not understand, but it's funny enough that it's going to resonate and stay true. Now, to me, that's how you build a brand. That's how companies, industries get made, is by creating that narrative and that familiarity. So when they do become of age for whatever it is, whether it's gambling, whether it's voting, right? Like, it's whether it's any of that stuff, is that it's easier to, same with like political parties, right? Same, Republicans, Democrats, stuff like that. There's a reason why they start young, right? But we don't do that in our industry. And not only that, but guess what? Like, one thing that is, it's not so much on the real estate side, but on the mortgage side, is like, we're becoming a very aged sales population. And so there's nobody like just coming out of school like, dude, I want to be in mortgage, right? Like, I want to be a mortgage broker. Like, I got out of college and now I'm going to go and do loans. Like, nobody does that. And so the problem with with any of this is that I'm going to close my blinds here in a second because of that light's killing me. But the problem with that is that this gives you an opportunity to recruit and get people interested in the industry, because it's not just loan officers, but it's people like underwriters and processors and people in fulfillment, people just to be part of an industry. Because if you don't have that, if you're not constantly fulfilling, or backfilling the ranks of people, then that's going to be an issue too, right? So that's the thing, is like you got to take the advantages of a younger platform like TikTok and the younger generation to sell, like, hey, like for example, that shirt in the back, brokers are better, like mortgage brokers, to say, hey, if you're going to get a mortgage, use a mortgage broker, right? Like that's an example of a way that you could get to the younger generation, right?
Okay, so and I love the way you sort of position that, because
I'm going to listen to you. I'm just going to close my blinds real quick.
Yeah. It seems like positioning is exactly what the main point of what was just said is that the reason you're going to use a platform like TikTok is to get out there and start to connect with a younger generation of people. Those people are then going to have a positioning in their mind. You're going to have built MindShare with them, so that they're now thinking about you when it's their time to go ahead and get a mortgage, find a realtor, whatever it be. They're going to have seen you on this platform. They'll be more familiar with you. Then
Or what I was going to say, or just understanding the model, right? Like understanding, like using a local real estate expert,
right,
as opposed to like a big box, right? Or same with using a local mortgage expert as opposed to like a Quicken or a fintech, because that's where the marketing really goes.
Okay, so then on that note, right, because this is the big one. Typically speaking, and we've been talking about this stuff for a long time with, again, the voice and the video and the social and everything else, right? And you said it a few minutes ago there, where most people will say, well, I'm not getting the return that I wanted. And it didn't happen right away. And I posted. And I had Kyle Draper on the other day, and he was saying a very similar thing, where he was going, people will say, I tried video and I tried it a few times and it wasn't for me. Nobody responded to me. Or I put up a post on social media and nobody is responding, or I only got a few likes. It's, this doesn't work. And it's, well, my people don't want this, right? So when you look at that and you look at something like a TikTok, because in my mind right now, TikTok is very, very much entertainment value rather than delivering value, right? In terms of like education. Now, anybody can put a spin on anything they want, for sure. That said, now you got people that are going, okay, wait a second. So what you're suggesting to me is this. We've got this new platform. People could get massive amount of views. I'm already doing the Facebook, Instagram thing, but I'm really just stalking and scrolling right now. I'm not even comfortable posting video. Forget it. I can't even go near it. I'm never going to jump into this TikTok thing, because in my mind right now, without even, knowing enough of it, I look at it as it's very goofy. Right? You are going to get out there and you're going to make people listen in a good way, but you're going to make people laugh. You're going to make people smile. They're going to be entertained by it. So when it comes back to positioning, and you want to be that broker, that realtor who's going, look, I want your big deal, right? It's an expensive home, or it's just, it's, I want to be positioned in a different light than being that goofy person that's going to do that. Do we encourage people to change the way they operate in order to take advantage of a platform like this? Or is this maybe like hey, don't go near their platform then?
It's tough. And
that makes sense.
Yeah, no, totally. It does, because so my thing, I guess the quickly answer to that is like, if you're doing something that is working for you and working well, but also if you're honest with yourself, but also has the ability to kind of help build for the future, like there's still a lot of traffic, a lot of attention to it, then by all means do that. But like where I would say, and that's any marketing tactic that you're doing right now, right. Where I've always taken issue with like using those excuses of not doing something is when you're not, or you're struggling, or you do have those dips in your business to where you don't have any other options because you've been all in on direct mail, right? Or door knocking, or cold calling, or live video, or whatever it happens to be, right? My thing is when I talk to people that are like, the old ways are as good as the new ways when it comes to the cold calling, the direct mail and stuff like that. And I said, yeah, like none of those are dead. But you can't tell me those are as effective as they were 5 years ago, or they're effective as they were a year ago, right? Like those are going to continue to, and so, some things not so much. Like people have been saying for years that email is dead. Like, don't send email, don't quit. And to me, email's still a big, it's still a big, still a big boost.
Your microphone did not like that comment.
The microphone did not like that at all.
Email is good, Jason. Email is good.
email's fine. But but other things aren't going to help you for the future. To me, something like a TikTok and Instagram, Facebook, or whatever is like, if you start doing content on that and start building an audience on there, it's going to be something to where that is going to help you for the future, build an area. Because eventually, not only that, but like, and this is what I say is like, people will say, well, Facebook isn't always going to be around. Instagram isn't always going to be around. Oh, 100%. They're not always going to be around. But what I will say is that audience, those people that you connect with, you'll end up connecting with them on whatever happens to be next, because they're just not going to stop using social media. They'll go to somewhere else. And the perfect example is look at all the people that used to follow me or anyone else on Snapchat and then started following me on Instagram or Facebook, or, connected with me on other channels. People that I've connected with on Facebook and, whatever, are now following me on LinkedIn. You know what I mean? So that's the thing, is that there always will be something else. There always will be like a migration to something else. It's just finding out what that actually looks like. Right.
But when we look at all of this stuff that's online, right? One thing I would say is that it's all being watched through this device right here. And I mean, I know we both look at, the stats for the podcast and everything else. And you try to get a sense of like, where are my listeners, who's listening, who's watching, blah, 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 whatever. What are they watching on? Yeah. Right. And we know that mobile trumps everything, because of the fact that we are aimless and we are bored and we have become addicted to picking up our phone and scrolling any moment that we have a free moment in anything in life. Yeah. So yeah, I agree. People will look and say, okay, I saw you on Snapchat. I'm not on Snapchat much anymore. I'm going to follow you on TikTok. I'm going to follow you on Facebook. I believe that's very similar demographic of people. Don't get me wrong. We've got 2-3 billion people, 4 billion people that are using social medias. And I mean, it's the way of the world these days. However, it is one channel. And most people are not posting anything. They're not actually having the nerve to go, I'm going to say something to the world. Like, what I find incredible is we tell people to add value. We tell people to build their brand, build mindshare out there. And I'm not going back on any of that statement. I mean, I believe there are things you need to be doing every single day to be intentional when you get on your social, as opposed to just playing Candy Crush or Brick Breaker, and pretending you're working. It's not. It's not working at all. You've got to get out there. And again, we talk about adding value, and we talk about connecting with people and liking and commenting and friending people and actually engaging in a social way. And that's the beauty of it. I mean, that's where I'd say to anybody. And I know I believe I mentioned this one to you before, but sitting around in circles, and I always picture this one conversation I had where we were standing at hockey, and there's about 15 guys standing around. And one of my buddies, who happens to be younger than me, wicked dude, says to me, he's not really on Facebook. I went, but you're in sales, right? He says, yeah. I said, well, why wouldn't you be on Facebook? He's like, well, it's not really my thing. I'm like, Instagram? He's like, yeah, I like Instagram. I'm like, but do you post and stuff? He's like, not really. Like, dude, we're standing here right now with 14 people, 15 people, whatever it was. You could say whatever you want to us right now. We'll hear you. Yeah. You could go on social media right now and say that, and like hundreds, if not thousands, can hear you. Yeah. There's the benefit of taking advantage of these social platforms. That said, we also know, though, that the phone call, the old school method, and I mean, hey, we all hate cold calling. And I know finally up here in Canada, they passed some sort of bill that said, they're going to stop all the spam calls we're getting, because we were literally getting, like, I don't know if you guys are getting into the robo dial.
The robo calls. Yeah.
Like, bro, I don't even pick up my phone anymore, man. Like, I won't even, like, unless I see your name, like Jason Frazier, like, I won't pick it up, even if it's a local number. Yep. It's a horn, and they want to sell me a cruise. It's foreign language. Like, I can't understand what's going on. They want to sell me duck cleaning, like anything and everything. It's slamming my phone. Yep. So cold calling has become a stigma around don't cold call me. I don't like being cold called. Personally, for me, I love it when people cold call me. I mean, if they're like realtors or mortgage brokers, I want to hear the pitch, right? I want to have some fun with you, but I want to figure out where you're going with this thing. All that again said, though, the cold calling it is the one-to-one communication with people, and there's not enough phone calling that happens these days, right? When we look at emailing and they say, they talked about email becoming a dinosaur because of all the spam that we get, there's still a place for email. And we know as marketers that email can be one of those triggers that says, hey, we're going to capture your email address. We're going to be able to market you more, or we're going to send you somewhere to get X for free or whatever it be. There's a lot of value that can be delivered through email. Same thing with direct mail. I mean, we know direct mail, as old school as it is, direct mail causes a 70% higher brand recall when it's injected into a marketing campaign, right? So if I'm going to go and say, okay, I got this podcast and I'm this guy on a screen, I'm a voice on a car speaker, but do you really know me? Have you really connected with me? Right. And this is where, for me, something like video comes into play, because now you get to see me more. You get to experience me a little bit more, however that just sounded, but then there's the realities of how do I take that and I guess essentially bring that relationship offline, because in the business we're in, it is a relationship business. And so those tactics around voice and around video and around all these social media platforms, this is all just a branding expedition for all of us, right? It's all mindshare building. Now, the minute you step out, and I know you've had this happen to you before, where you'll post something up and people interact with you, and all of a sudden you reply to somebody or you'll email somebody back, or you see them at a conference, and you've just become a real human being. You're like, oh my God, yeah, I follow you, or I watch your stuff. And it's like, I love your stuff, or whatever they say. Stop posting. It's too much. Who knows what they say, right? Yeah. But you've become a real person. Now you've got a relationship that is incredibly different with these people than just being the online figurehead. Yeah. Right. That to me is powerful. And I think that's where what everybody needs to understand is, as much as we want to tout all of this tech and all these platforms, there is an aspect to this that says, hey, you still need to go out and connect with people, because it's a people business. Yep. You've got to call people. You've got to go see people. You've got to interact beyond just social media. It's powerful. Yeah. Right. So from a podcasting perspective and a voice perspective, just kind of going back there for a moment and integrating video into this whole thing, it seems like TikTok is like a platform that just does kind of both of those in some way, shape, or form. It allows you to talk and dance and sing and be on video. But we've got so many people that are scared of video. Yeah. And it's to those people. I know last year what we were saying, and through the early part of this year, and even, till now, I would say the same thing. Voice marketing allows you to go in and provide value, put content out there, connect with people, build an audience, build mindshare, and you don't need to be on a camera. So why are we finding it so difficult for people to get involved with this stuff? What is it that somebody, what have you heard from people? They know they like podcasts and they might listen to podcasts. They hear that podcast is the thing to do, or flash briefings and all these devices in the houses. But why are people not doing it?
It all comes down to them not being comfortable with doing it, right? It all comes back to their level of, oh, it's a high barrier entry. I don't know what I would talk about, all this other. It just basically on every excuse that you get for anything else. Like, I don't know what to say on a blog. I don't know what to say in an email. I don't know what to say on the phone. Right? There's that. And then because it's because it's technology in essence, right? Like, you got to get a microphone, you got to have, the host and all that other stuff. Then it's another barrier. But, one is what you just said is very powerful. And I think everyone needs to understand that is, I know, had I not had a podcast or started a podcast or done this, and then everything that I was doing this year with going to shows and all that other stuff, like, it wouldn't nearly be as successful as, as far as like branding and getting to know people and really, and creating relationships. None of that would have been possible without doing a lot of what we're doing. And so, I think one thing that you'll notice as we're kind of looking into, I know, for, in essence of time, we got to, kind of wrap things up here pretty quick, but like, we talked about looking back at 2019 and 2020 when it, and this will kind of answer what you were asking me is, one is, I don't think as a culture, society, we want to be like less human. And that's, I think that was kind of the narrative, is that it's like, oh, well, you're either, automated technology and it's taking over, and then there'll be less human interaction. honestly, I think it's gone the other way. I think people are like, look, I don't think we're ready for just not having any human interaction. I think it's like, how do you leverage both of those, right? How do you get that human interaction with what we're doing? So I think looking forward to 2020 is we need to figure out how to be more personalized with the content that we're putting out and less automated. Use automation where it makes sense, but you can't automate the relationship, and that people still want that human interaction on some level.
Set it and forget
set it
you.
And forget you, right? And so, and that's the thing is that's something that everyone needs to understand, is that you gotta still be human. Humans are still important, and they're more important because not everyone is excited about all of the technology and automation. So being human still matters. But this is one thing that I will say for the people, so I mean, to answer your question quickly, it's the change, right? It's the change of not being comfortable with doing something that they've never done before. That's always going to be a barrier in our industry. But this is what I'll say is that people in our industry need to understand the change, the evolution, the revolution, the disruption that's happening in a lot of different industries, not just ours.
Mm-hmm.
But ours is the one that is a $1 trillion industry, and ours is the one that everyone's licking their chops to get into and figure out how do they get a piece of that pie. And so for being the establishment, if you will, of being the traditional agents, loan officers, lenders, whatever, brokerages, being the traditionalists, if you've been in this business for 10 plus years, right, let's call you a traditionalist, not your way of thinking, but really just kind of just to get you in the mindset of what I'm talking about here, is that the reason why we're having all that is because we've been kind of set in our ways. We haven't evolved or adapted without being forced to evolve, either by law, regulation, or by just consumer habits. We are a very reactive industry, not a proactive industry, right, as a whole. Right? Not everybody, but as a whole. And so what I would say to those people that can find excuses or reasons to not do something, just understand that, like, technology is not going to replace you. Social media is not going to replace you, but agents, mortgage brokers, those that do utilize technology, that do utilize social media, that do utilize digital marketing, that have a diverse portfolio of marketing strategies that are really going in on that brand, on their name. Those that do those things, that have gotten over that comfort level, will absolutely 100% without a doubt beat you at what you're doing, and will do a better job, and will have more business, and will have a bigger legacy. It's just like with any change, right? Going back to like people that were utilizing television ads over radio or whatever, when that came out, like those people beat and created empires because they got in on a new medium that was taking off. Same with like podcasting and everything else, is like that. Well, YouTube and Facebook and stuff like that, you absolutely 100% will lose market share to those that do utilize where the attention is. And that's it. Right. And so that's what I would say to you is like, it's hard to convince someone that they need to do something when they truly don't want to do it, right? When they really don't want to do it, right? It's not like they're doubtful. It's not when they really don't want to do it. And so I've stopped. So with a lot of in 2020, I'm only going to focus on those that get it, and that's the thing for me looking at 2020 is that one is people that get it, but also people that still want to inject the human into what they're doing as opposed to being completely automated. I hear, I know you hear it. I hear it. We talk about the set it and forget it. I just want something that I turn on and I don't have to worry about it. Right. Yeah. Well, fantastic. Because I'll tell you right now, no great businesses were built that way. Ever.
No, there's
any
no
industry,
way.
Any vertical, right? So what you're telling me is you don't want a great business, right? And which is fine, right? Like if you just want to do that, but then that's for somebody else. That's for someone else to talk to. That's for someone else to follow or whatever about being mediocre or average, which is again, fine, right? There's nothing wrong with that if that's what makes you happy. But don't tell me you want a great business and then do anything and everything but what is required to have a great business, right? So that's what I would say, it's kind of a long-winded answer to your question, but I also wanted to cover that plus get into like the 2020
No, it's good though.
Opinions on that. Yeah.
Absolutely. No, I love what you just brought up and because it makes total sense, right? This is where we're going. I mean, this is where we are, never mind where we're going. We are here. This podcasting and video and YouTubes and Facebook's like, when people talk about what's after Facebook, like I'm not seeing it right now. Right. Yeah. I know that we've got all these other platforms coming in, but we continue to have these other platforms coming in. Nothing has had the muscle or the star power, whatever you want to call it, like Facebook. I mean, Facebook went out.
Yep.
They own Insta. They own WhatsApp. Like Facebook is Facebook. So it's going to take a massive monster to come in somewhere from some line to do that. But talk about evolution, talk about where we're going. It's much the same. So, I mean, here Zuck said Facebook's going to be like, over 50% video by 2020.
Yep.
I'm not sure if I agree with it much. I know we see a ton of video, and I know the algorithms love the Facebook lives that we do and all that stuff. That being said, there's a lot of people that just will not go near video no matter what you tell them. And it's just like you just said it. Instead of trying to convince people, it is about becoming more personal, right? So how do you take that and move forward? So when we look at 2020 ahead, I mean, if I go back to a lot of the challenges that I heard about over, the past year and the past number of years, and I look back even to, when we do the MindShare challenge, we take a lot of polls from people and understand, like, what do you love doing to get business? What do you hate doing to get business? Where do you see most of your business from? Most people will always tell you they see most of their business through networking, referrals, friends and family. Well, okay, looking at that, how do you leverage that? We leverage that through things like our social medias. We leverage that through things like getting together with people, sending holiday cards, making those phone calls, having the coffees, doing the lunches. That's how we do it. So again, the socials and the video and all these things, they are more ammo for you. They're another tool on your tool belt, essentially, to be able to get out there. And I mean, I love what you just said. It's you will lose to those people who are doing these things.
Yep.
Now, when we look at the ROI and we look at, well, I'm not getting it immediately, and I tried it, and again, not going back to that, but kind of just bringing that as a topic here. As we look ahead in 2020, what are those things that everybody needs to be focusing on? And I think we just stated that, but it's the relationship. And I mean, we've been touting that for years. Has anything really changed then in this business?
It has like the ultimate goal, the relationships, being in front of people. No, I don't think anyone's really changed from a foundational standpoint. It's the tools that have changed, right? For example, there's people, and I see it all the time. Like I literally see people like, well, they only wanted to talk via text message, and they were like showing like a conversation between them, and they're like, well, this is a very important thing, and we really find out we best work with people that come into the office. And it's like, that has changed. One is understanding that, like, look, if you're a real estate agent, you're a loan officer, stop trying to make the consumer, and I know people disagree with me on this, but stop trying to make the consumer do what you want to do. Yes. Like, look, some people talk like, hey, you're in control of the process. You're in control. Yes. To a certain extent. Yes. But at the end of the day, if for example, they come to me and they're texting me and I'm like, you know what, Joe, like, it would be great if you and Cynthia would come into my office, because that's the best way to really understand your goals, your needs, and all that other stuff. Then they text you, Dave, and they're like, David, like, I just like, look, I'm letting you know, I'm not going to come in the office. I'm not doing anything. Like, I need to do this digitally. I need to just communicate via text. Are you okay with that? Dave's like, sure, why not? Like, let's do that. And that's the thing. And Dave's going to win the business. So that's what I'm saying, is that, like, you need to be flexible about how you're comfortable doing business. Now, again, everyone has their avatars, right? Like the people they love doing business with, their clientele. Again, if that's getting you a steady stream of business, you're happy, and that's going to help you grow, then fantastic, keep doing that. But if it's not, and this is where I see a lot of people losing business, is that eventually that if you're not meeting the consumer where they are, that's the difference. Before, they didn't have a choice, right? So this business has changed dramatically in the terms of their choices from the consumer standpoint, getting information, having access, like whether it's like a Zillow, a Google, whatever. That has changed dramatically. As far as the relationship and being comfortable to know you, like you, trust you, that hasn't changed at all.
Right.
There's the channels have changed. The tactics, the medium has changed quite a bit. And so those that leverage that still don't lose that one-on-one personal touch, but have realized how they could do that via Facebook Messenger, Instagram, text messaging, especially like I'll tell you right now, text messaging, if you're not utilizing text messaging and you're still focused on calls and other crap like that, you are losing a tremendous amount of opportunity.
Are we talking about advertising through text message, or are we talking about personal one-to-ones?
Just communicating, right? Giving updates.
Because I don't like being advertised through text message. Like, I look at it as it's intrusive to me. I'm like, well, how did you, like the same thing with the spam calls, right? How did you get my phone number? Why are you texting me?
Yeah.
At the same time, though, if it's you and me, dude, that makes communication so much easier.
Text is great when there's already been an initiation of a relationship, whether it's
Right.
like filling out a lead form or something like that. I'm not saying blasting people with text messages. I hate it. Honestly, I think that's the reason why chatbots on Facebook have become so, to me, I think I personally, actually, I'm not going to say that because I'll get a ton of stuff. Me personally, I think chatbots, there's a way for them. I think Facebook chatbots, what everyone thought they were going to do and what they were going to be, definitely isn't going to be that long term. I think we saw that when Facebook started cutting back on I don't get any chatbot blasts anymore, thank God, because I thought they were annoying as hell.
Oh my God, my buddy Grant Cardone texts me like every minute. I'm surprised I haven't gotten one from him yet.
Yeah. Well, I signed up for like the Gary Vee text, but there's a relation, you know what I mean? But still, there's already a relationship there. If you opt into something like that, that's what I'm saying is important. Is if you get someone to opt into something like that, by all means use that, because most likely it's going to be read. But again, coming back down to the channel, the business hasn't changed. How the business operates, the processes, finding houses, stuff like that has dramatically, but the relationship is what matter. And the relationship is by standing out, right? Like grading, providing a great consumer experience, making them happy, but treating it as a relationship and not just automating and like, hey, Dave, I helped you. You were very happy with my services. I helped you find a house. That's great. And then I just automate the rest of the relationship. I just do drip. I maybe throw a card here and there. I send an automated, birthday card or loan anniversary or, whatever. But to me, again, no great businesses were ever built that way 100%. Like there has to be some personalization, some customization in there. And that's not going to create mind share, right? Like there's got to be a relationship there. Like you're not going to be a Nike, a McDonald's, a Coke, or anything else when it comes to when someone thinks about that, but thinks about your industry, real estate or mortgage. If all you've done is given them a cookie cutter experience and a cookie cutter follow-up system, right? If you're not going out there and doing stuff, then it's not going to create anything.
So here, as a very rapid fire here, this is a yes or no for you.
Perfect.
Should a mortgage broker and or realtor be doing a podcast?
Yes.
Okay. Should they be doing video?
Yes.
Should they be taking advantage of social media?
Yes.
Perfect. And the reason I asked that is just to kind of sum up, because you just, again, great points that you brought up here today. And when we're looking back on the 2019s and we're looking ahead to 2020, I mean, it's amazing. There's not a hell of a lot of change, except for the fact that I think that each person individually needs to evolve in what they're doing and how they're getting out there to build that mind share and utilize that to start the relationship, right? Because that's what it's all about. It's not just about people knowing who you are and going, hey, I know that guy or I've seen that guy, because we all know it. If you're too big and too important and, you've got this status and I don't really know you, well, the reality is we probably don't have a relationship and therefore the business doesn't come from it.
Yeah.
So for all this stuff and all these bright, shiny objects we talk about with all these technologies, it's important that everybody utilizes that essentially strictly to begin the relationship and then get that relationship almost to that point where there is a personal level. There is the text message going on. There is that one-to-one connection. So I don't feel like you're too important to talk to.
Yeah. 100%.
I think that's the focus for 2020 then is much the same we've been saying, but it's the relationships, but it's utilizing these different channels to go and create stronger bonds, get people to understand who you are, and then take that relationship, take that opportunity and run with it.
Yeah, to me, it's humans over logos, humans over brand. And again, I know branding is a thing that we always talk about. You got to brand whatever.
Yeah.
But don't forget the human element of that, whether it's your employees, whether it's the people you work with, your colleagues, your customers. That human element needs to be the focus, not your logo, not your brand, brand. All that stuff's important, but you need to value the human element over your brand or your logo.
Focus on people.
Yeah.
That's it. Well, that's it, man. I thank you. I for everybody watching, for everybody listening. I think that you got some good insights here today about sort of what 2019. And I mean, Jay and you and I could rap about this stuff for hours.
Oh,
today.
This could
go on and on, right? Like this could be a marathon show.
This is the important stuff. Yeah.
But I think that it's important that everybody understands exactly where we're coming from here today. Of just kind of looking back at the 2019, looking at the sort of this importance around voice marketing, looking at what Zucks did say, and when Mark Zuckerberg, he does run Facebook. looking ahead to what he has said about video and just everybody understanding the importance. And I love the fact that we even brought up TikTok. I didn't even think about going there today.
Yep.
But it does shine some light around, again, what these different apps and what the purposes of all of this stuff really is.
Yep.
You know, but hey, it boils down to still, as we move forward with all the tech we have, it still comes back to people.
100%.
So my message to everybody, go out there, build MindShare, and focus on actually connecting with real people. You will be more successful in 2020.
Booyah.
Love it. So, as I anticipated, that was one loaded episode with my man Jason Frazier, looking back on 2019 marketing trends and making predictions for where the business is going in 2020. You're either listening to this on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, or Spotify. Or maybe you went to industrysyndicate.com. Maybe you downloaded our free Industry Syndicate podcast app. Or maybe you went to my website, mindshare101.com. Wherever you like to consume your content, please rate, review, and subscribe. And if you haven't yet, connect with me on Facebook at mindshare101 and on Instagram at davidgreenspan101. This is officially a wrap on 2019 and Season 1 of the MindShare podcast. Thank you, everyone, for listening, and I wish you all the success in the world for the new year and the new decade ahead.